We here at Outside Xtra often end up on the wrong side of the law.
In video games, right?
Yeah, also in them. Fortunately for us, many in-game jail cells and prisons are easier to break out of than a knee-high hedge maze. So, when our crimes, or just our enemies, catch up with us, we can quickly get ourselves out of there and home in time for tea. Here then, inspired by Twitter user Vorpal Palehorse, are the prisons that held us for about 5 minutes. Beware spoilers and possible mass breakouts from the following.
It's me, Otacon. Wow, they even captured you.
Hurry, get me out of here.
Let me go, that hurts.
Hurry up.
Is that how you ask a guy a favor? Let me go. Jeez, it's like an animal's cage.
Solid Snake is a flawlessly trained stealth operative at the very peak of human physical and mental fitness, deadly in any situation and harder to capture than a shiny Articuno. That was sounding quite cool until I mentioned Pokemon. Imagine how delighted the villainous Ocelot would be then to have actually captured Solid Snake at this point in Metal Gear Solid, and to be able to torture him for information. Imagine how securely you would want to lock Solid Snake up in between torture sessions. Imagine how elite you would want his jailer to be. An individual utterly without mercy, always attentive, unwavering in their stamina and sense of duty. But if that person isn't available, I guess get Johnny Sasaki, the dude famous for getting diarrhea in the middle of almost every major Metal Gear game. God damn it, Johnny. Predictably, while guarding Snake, Johnny must make one of his trademark comedy runs for the bathroom, which is all the opportunity your buddy Otacon needs to sneak in and slip you some rations and ketchup.
I thought you might be hungry.
Which apparently is all it takes to fool Johnny, the world's worst jailer, into thinking Snake has randomly died.
What the hell?
And opening the door, at which point, of course, Snake cheeses it out of the least secure prison in the world. Maybe we're being too hard on Johnny. I mean, maybe he'd never seen ketchup before? I mean, who'd want to take risks with his stomach?
As if Skyrim...
I'm getting out of here.
You have committed crimes against Skyrim and your people. What say you in your defense? You're going to rot in the Dragon's Reach dungeon.
Let me tell you, one of the worst things about being in jail is that you're not allowed to have with you all the things you would need to make a dramatic escape. And indeed, taking away your possessions is something guards in Skyrim take very seriously. Which is why if you, the Dragonborn, should irritate the local law enough to land yourself in prison, you'll understandably have all of your cool loot confiscated. Except, that is, for one item, probably the single worst item to leave in the possession of an inmate that you're trying to keep behind bars. Yes, a lockpick. Despite the fact that Skyrim players will generally be in possession of many lockpicks at the point of being arrested, the guards always seem to leave you with a single one, for reasons best known only to them. Unless I smuggled it in on my person without the guards noticing, but I don't want to think about where, because those things are pointy. Whatever the reason, that lockpick is all it takes to break out of jail, a feat made even easier if you're in Whiterun, where your cell is home to a floor grate with a novice level lock, which means you more or less just have to blow on it to make good your escape. What's more, once you're free, the guards around town will seemingly not mind the fact that you're walking around unimprisoned. Presumably, they think you must be a twin sibling of the Dragonborn they locked up, so totally inescapable is their prison.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Took an arrow to the brain, more like.
God damn it, Blazkowicz. You done messed up now.
Being caught by your enemies and thrown into jail really is the pits, quite literally in Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. Upon trying to infiltrate Castle Wolfenstein, BJ Blazkowicz and his pal Wesley are discovered by Lieutenant Jaeger, with both of them promptly being thrown into the dungeons below, literally kicking off the game. Oh no, you might think, how will I get out of this? at which point you will look around and see a pipe conveniently leading up to this still open grating above you, because they didn't think to close it behind them. Come on, that's lesson number 1 of Evil Baddie School. Lesson 2 is how to wear an eye patch. However, when you climb the pipe, it breaks. Oh no, you think, again, how will I get out of this? At which point you see a nicely jagged wall, which these bits of broken pipe can be used to climb in mere moments, going straight up to the exact grate that is open above you.
The best day of my life.
Cue you dragging yourself up and finding out that the gate in front of your pit has also been left totally open. You guys aren't even trying now, are you? The next thing you notice are the terrifying looking giant robot guards stalking the hall. Oh no! Looks like this is the end for BJ Blazkowicz. I mean, unless we turn off the generator right beside them and unplug them from their power source, rendering them totally useless, allowing you to easily escape and begin the rest of the game where you generally give these Nazis a really bad time. Robots aren't even battery powered. You guys are the most useless baddies ever. Right, I'm confiscating your eye patches.
Who among us, while tidying up, hasn't simply moved a rug or tactically placed a photo frame or vase to cover up a mess? And you know what? In cases of domestic neatness, there's nothing wrong with that. But where the philosophy falls down slightly is when it's implemented inside of prison cells, as the Forsaken Fortress in The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker proves. Link finds himself inside this hulking fortress early in the game, having catapulted himself inside in a bid to rescue his sister, a bid that begins with Link losing his sword and then flopping, apparently unconscious, into a body of water. Jailbreak going well then. But if this fortress is the one holding Link's sister hostage, then he needn't have bothered trying to bust her out himself, because the Forsaken Fortress is about as secure as the pin code 1234. If discovered, Link will be unceremoniously thrown into the jail by patrolling moblins, at which point he is faced with a terrible dilemma. Either option A, live out his days in unbroken misery inside his cold and stony cell, or option B, break the pot on the shelf that is barely concealing a fully formed tunnel to freedom. Also moblins, this is Link we're talking about. Smashing pots is kind of his thing. Should have put a coherent series timeline on the wall. Link wouldn't go anywhere near that.
All right. All right. I'm gone.
Even if you didn't know much about the Lady of Pain from Planescape Torment, you could probably infer from her name that it would be unwise to upset her. Because if you do, this magical, inscrutable leader will ruthlessly punish you with teleportation to one of her magical and almost inescapable mazes. Sounds terrifying, but in fact, the maze dimension isn't very challenging at all for prisoners to break out from. Portals line the circumference and transport the player to the opposite side of the maze. Unless that is, you go through the same portal twice, in which case you get teleported clockwise around the maze, a trick you can use to get to the exit in mere moments. Easy when you know how, and guess what? You already do know how. Sort of. See, in this game, your character is immortal, but loses their memory when they die. So rootle around the maze for a bit and you'll find evidence that you've been here before. A campsite that contains clues to solving the maze. Hey, if you won't tidy up your maze dimension, Lady of Pain, you will pay the price, is not a sentence I thought I'd be saying today. But what do I know? I'm not a prison architect. Unless you count that ant farm I built. And let me tell you, those ants certainly considered it a prison.
If we've learned anything over the course of this video, it's that escaping prison is all about identifying and exploiting weak spots. So when you find yourself in a prison cell in Far Cry 2 and look up, you see that there's an open bar ceiling, and not in the fun sense of the words open bar. This large grate means that, whilst it keeps you visible and also serves as a way to keep you trapped in the burning sunshine, it's also a pretty big weak spot where someone could easily drop some keys down to you as part of an elaborate escape plan. Or, and bear with me on this, you could just kick a wall. See, in this cell, there's one wall with a different look to the rest of the room. There's even a little hole in it, wide enough for your friend to poke their hand through. but it's also weak enough for you to put your entire foot through, allowing you to break out, pick up a machete, run out the door the guards left open, pick up guns, and completely ruin the guard's day. Maybe, just maybe, you wouldn't have a gun and machete wielding escapee if you built the walls out of something stronger than paper mache. Maybe.
Don't try to escape or anything. Walt will chew you to bits. Okay, Walt. I'll be back to relieve you at 11.
Dogs have many qualities. They're faithful, loving, and if you fall and hit your head and die when you're home alone, they'll wait ages before eating you. But running a prison is, and we really feel this should go without saying, not something that should be left to a dog. And yet that's the kind of slipshod operation that's being operated by Governor Phatt in Monkey Island 2, a corrupt dictator who governs Phatt Island with an iron fist, and does so from his bed, where he spends his whole life lounging, being fed from a tube every few seconds. Living the dream, am I right? No? No. Governor Phatt has arrested hero Guybrush Threepwood and plans to hand him over to ghostly pirate LeChuck for a humongous reward. A solid plan that would probably do better if the jail in question wasn't ludicrously straightforward to leave. All it takes to get the jail key from Walt the dog is for Guybrush to offer up one of the easily acquired bones from the skeleton in the next cell. And Guybrush is free to go, roughly 15 seconds after he was first incarcerated. Makes you wonder how dense the person in the next cell must have been to not escape themselves. Maybe Walt the dog ate them. What? I bet he waited like 3 or 4 days.
Here, doggy doggy. Here, boy.
So there are some of the prisons that were just far too easy to get out. I mean, they need to get a better architect, better guards, just everything better in general. But if you would like to escape the prison that is this video, we can help you with that by encouraging you to click on one of these videos. Up here is a video from us, countdowns that super stressed you out, and down here from outside of Xbox are the bosses that quizzed you to death. But it's not a quiz, so click that subscribe orb and also the bell and the like button. Thanks. Bye.